hit live. Come on.
Web car law to otherwise be doing this in my home office, but the house is filled with more kids than I can count. I don't know what happened. He'd been overtaken by kids. This is going to be one of those moments, one of those periods of time where everyone is going to remember where they were when Donald Trump, a former president of the United States of America, was convicted on the most trumped up, pun intended, bogus kangaroo court of a show trial imaginable. Guilty all 34 counts of that felony indictment, falsifying business records to allegedly interfere with the election, to cover an affair that he had with a porn star in 2006 that only resurfaced in 2016 prior to the election. Payment was affected after he became, which raises presidential immunity, which I'll get to in a second. Biggest show trial you could imagine. The two-star witnesses, a lying porn star who lied about lying, and then lied about why she lied, and a perjurer who admitted to more crimes on the stand than Trump has ever committed in his entire life. Literally admitted to crimes on the stand: larceny, theft, structuring an illegal scheme. He stole $30,000. He took it out in increments so the bank wouldn't know, that they wouldn't exceed the daily limits of cash withdrawals. Money that he took out as part of this alleged scheme, $30,000. That's Michael Cohen.
Is there a lag on your side, guys? Obviously, you guys see what I'm going to do. You guys know what I got to do right now. Is there lag on y'all's side? Lag out. Yeah, I'll see if I can fix it, guys. Damn it. Fucking motherfucker. Be right back. You guys know what I got to do. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute, guys. There you go. There you go. Fucking fuck you, you motherfucking, you stupid piece of fucking shit, fucking trolls. Fuck you, motherfuckers. All right, maybe I'll try to rewind. Was it fucking? Why was it doing this all of a sudden? All right. Do I need to rewind a bit? That's what I'm guessing. I don't need that up. Oh, that's for later. This one right here.
A second. Two-star witnesses, a lying porn star, lied about lying, and then lied about why she lied about lying, and a convicted perjurer who admitted to more crimes on the stand than Trump has ever committed in his entire life. Literally admitted to crime.
It's still lagging in it, guys. Son of a fucking bitch, man. It's lagging in it. What's up? And what's up with my camera? Boy, they just don't want me to talk, do they? What's up with my slagging, ain't it, guys? Try to go back again. Slagging, ain't it, guys? Tell me.
False. He became president. Question: biggest show trial you could imagine. The two-star witnesses, a lying porn star who lied, lying, and convicted perjurer who admitted to more crimes on the stand than Trump has ever committed in his entire life. Literally admitted to crimes on the stand: larceny, theft, structuring an illegal scheme, because when he took out the tens of thousands of dollars from the bank in cash so that he stole 30,000 from that, he took it out in increments so the bank wouldn't know that they were limited $1,000. That's Michael Cohen. The two-star witnesses are perjurers, liars, and one of which is an admitted thief, etc. Yeah, the jury, after 2 days of deliberation, came down on Trump and found him guilty of all. You don't understand the hell that you're ushering. I'm not coping. I'm not crying. I'm not even angry. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in.
So, do I, no, Mike, do I just, now I just gotta play this? I just gotta get his video on TV, and y'all tell me how it sounds? Sounds like that's what I gotta do, guys. Okay. All right, we're gonna try to do this. All right, guys, so, all right, guys, so I guess I gotta do this. All right, so fuck. I'll press play. I'll press play, I guess, and you guys tell me if you guys can hear it. All right. I guess I got to turn. I don't need this volume up now, and I don't have to. I don't need that. All right, guys. I'm gonna press play. Let me know if you guys can hear it. Where'd my fucking remote go? I'm fucking going nuts. Motherfucker, man, this sucks. All right.
And I guess it's sort of fitting. I would otherwise be doing this in my home office, but the house is filled with more kids than I can count. I don't know what happened, but we've been overtaken by kids. This is going to be one of those moments, one of those periods of time where everyone is going to remember where they were when Donald Trump, a former president of the United States of America, was convicted on the most trumped up, pun intended, bogus kangaroo court of a show trial imaginable. Guilty on all 34 counts of that felony indictment for falsifying business records to allegedly interfere with the election, to cover up an alleged affair that he had with a porn star in 2006 that only resurfaced in 2016 prior to the election. The payment was effected after he became president, which raises questions of presidential immunity, which I'll get to in a second. Biggest show trial you could imagine. The two-star witnesses, a lying porn star who lied about lying, and then lied about why she lied about lying, and a convicted perjurer who admitted to more crimes on the stand than Trump has ever committed in his entire life. Literally admitted to crimes on the stand: larceny, theft, structuring an illegal scheme, because when he took out the tens of thousands of dollars from the bank in cash so that he stole 30,000 from that, he took it out in increments so the bank wouldn't know, that they wouldn't exceed the daily limits of cash withdrawals. Money that he took out as part of this alleged scheme from which he stole $30,000. That's Michael Cohen. The two star witnesses are perjurers, liars, and one of which is an admitted criminal, thief, etc. The jury, after 2 days of deliberation, came down on Trump and found him guilty of all 34 charges. It's a joke. I'm not angry. It's not cope. And by the way, I hate that freaking term when people say cope harder. Idiots. You don't understand the hell that you're ushering. I'm not coping. I'm not crying. I'm not even angry. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in mankind. I'm disappointed in people who should be a little bit smarter, who should be a little bit more moral, more ethical. And they frame their literal evil. They frame their evil as ethics. Oh, no one's above the law. Horse crap. Donald Trump has been in business for 40 some odd years. No charges, no accusations of racism until 2016. No accusations of sexual misconduct. I mean, the guy probably sleeps around. This is kind of in the realm of the world in which they live. Not my world. Married multiple times, whatever. But no charges of impropriety, sexual impropriety. No charges of racism. No charges, accusations of sexual assault. No criminal charges. A man who's been audited by the IRS more times than many of us will even get to, I don't know, eat breakfast. That's a bad analogy. A man who has been more thoroughly investigated in the course of his business dealings and only becomes an enemy of the existential threat to the deep state when he decides to run against the Democrats. Only then does he become racist. Does he then become a criminal, a sexual deviant, which is ironic because if we want to talk about sexual deviancy, we probably see a whole hell of a lot more of that on the capital D Democrat side, in the capital D Democrat Hollywood scene than we see anywhere else. And I can give you names: Weinstein, Weiner, Epstein. I mean, geez Louise. Yeah, the accusations of everything against Trump, I still say are true of the people making the accusations. But the bottom line, we just had, what was it, a 5-week trial? The most outrageous, devoid of any fact trial. We called it a kangaroo court, a show trial, because that's how it was designed by the corrupt Judge Marshall. Just understand the players in this political theater. Soros-funded Alvin Bragg, the client that case a while back but had second thoughts, I guess he got the call. Judge Marshall, totally judicially corrupt beyond words. His daughter making money off this very prosecution because she works a PR firm, Authentic Media, whatever the hell it's called. And who are her clients? Perjurer, he's not a perjurer, just serial liar Adam Schiff is one of her clients. The man who came out and lied to America about having seen smoking gun evidence about the Russia collusion hoax, lie, deep state operative plan. Came out and said, I saw smoking gun evidence, lie. He lied knowing that no one could rebut that lie without violating the confidentiality of those commission hearings. Liar. The judge's daughter is making millions for herself, for her client, Adam Schiff, who's campaigning, raising money off of this prosecution. That's another player. Then you got Stormy Daniels, political operative, who's made over $1 million as a result of the hate for Donald Trump. She's made over $1 million, and they're going after Trump for fraudulent business records to conceal payment. It looks like it might be Stormy Daniels who's done that very same thing, according to Michael Avenatti, who's given prison interviews and tweets. Stormy Daniels, when she got paid for the Netflix documentary, caused that payment to bypass her so that she wouldn't collect that money and then have to remit it to Donald Trump because she owes him over $500,000 for frivolous lawsuits she took out against him. So she's concealing money, no crime there, no accusations there. Mike Cohen admitted the theft. Now, it's been time-barred, admittedly, as this misdemeanor charge would have been had it bumped up to a full. Michael Cohen lies on the stand, admits the lying, admits that he committed perjury, commits perjury on the stand, admits that he's a liar on the stand, and admits of being a thief on the stand. Not there. It was his testimony that was linked to this case, that Donald Trump instructed him to structure the payment to Stormy Daniels to conceal it as a retainer payment to Michael Cohen. It was his testimony that that's exactly what it was. Based on an 86-second phone call that he plays to Secret Service to complain about a 14-year-old pranking him, and then he said, oh yeah, put me through to Donald Trump. Oh yeah, we're for this payment to Stormy Daniels. That was his testimony. That's how you get around the payment to make it Trump directing Cohen to have done it, because Cohen did it. Cohen made the payments, but says Trump directed me to do it. That's how he gets the 34 felony charge indictment. He's a liar. He's a thief. He did a larceny. And the jury, after 2 days of deliberation, said, yeah, we trust his testimony. Guilty on all counts. Now, the media is out there running around like a bunch of idiots. Guilty on 34. They were literally on MSNBC They had like a little scorecard. Bing one, bing two. Once he was found guilty, or once the jury was going to find him guilty on one charge, they were going to be finding him guilty on all 34, because all 34 charges are iterations, basically, of the same charge. Writing the check, entering it in the ledgers, writing it in the books. So month over month over month, it was 4 felonies because they wrote the check. He signed the ledgers. He entered it in the books like that. So once they found him guilty on one, they were going to find him guilty on all 34, but they did it. They went ahead and they did it, and you get the MSNBC, literally with their checkbook. And you get more on Twitter, say guilty, 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 34 times. Very creative. I mean, first of all, I predicted this. And I'm unhappy that I'm right, although I actually am more right. I do pretty good. I'm wrong in first instance sometimes, but then I get vindicated on appeal, as I'm still waiting for on the disqualification of Fonnie Willis. But they're running around saying guilty, guilty, guilty. I said they were going to convict. They need the headlines, even if it gets overturned on appeal, which by all accounts it will. By all reputable attorney assessment, Jonathan Turley, Alan Dershowitz, Robert Barnes, by all accounts of any reputable attorney with half a reputation and half a shred of dignity, the case was bogus, and it will get overturned on appeal. But they're going to run with the headlines in the interim because that's all they need. It doesn't matter if it gets overturned in appeal. They're going to run with the headlines like the idiot Operation Mockingbird hacks that they are, and they're doing it already. They're proving it true in the first hour of this conviction. But there's a very interesting thing about all of this. You know, the trial was a little bit shorter than anticipated, but it's still close to 6 weeks. The verdict came right at the right time, before SCOTUS is set to issue their ruling on Trump's immunity. Because remember, there's a pending decision coming down from SCOTUS as to the scope and extent of any presidential immunity that Trump might benefit from. And this could include some of the issues in the case in New York, because those payments that the alleged covering up payments went through when Trump was president. So there is a question, depending on the scope of the immunity decision to come down from SCOTUS, as to whether or not it has impact on the New York decision, whether or not it overturns the New York conviction. They squeaked this decision in before that ruling came down, while they are simultaneously waging a PR war against conservative justices on the Supreme Court and their spouses. Alito, I forget the other one. They've already gone through Clarence Thomas, and there's another one, I forget. They're waging that war at the same time that this decision comes down before SCOTUS issues their ruling that might have an impact on and potentially even overturn this conviction. Coincidence? I think not. First time is an accident, second time is whatever, third time is enemy action. That screwed it up, if you know what I mean. And so that's it. Am I outraged? Yes. Do I think this is going to help Trump? Absolutely. Do I think that they might use this conviction also to stage something of a false flag, get someone to act out some sort of violence against some prominent Democrat politicians as reprisals so they can try to fabricate another Fed insurrection on January 6th? Yeah, right, I'm afraid of that. I'm more afraid of that than I'm afraid of actual capital P patriots, capital C conservatives doing something stupid, because this only helps Trump. It only helps Trump, and they know it. And the other major concern is they crossed one Rubicon after another. And this seems to be the second to last Rubicon that they are willing to cross in order to preserve power. That means burning down the entire institution and reigning over the ashes. How far are they going to go? I thought they were going to go as far as they went with trying to get Trump off the ballot, indicting him, trying to lock him up. What's the next Rubicon? Because there's only one or two more left, and they ain't good. And it doesn't look like this corrupt war machine of a Democrat deep state uni party to some extent is going to stop. Am I angry? No. I'm disappointed. Am I shocked? No. I am just unpleasantly surprised that I was right in the prediction, that they actually had the audacity to do it. I tweeted this out after the Engoron ruling. Get out of New York. I retweeted that tweet with get out of New York. This is going to wreak havoc on New York. There's no good reason to do business there anymore. There's no good reason to exist there if you are politically disfavored. And if anybody thinks this stops with the politically...
Oh, shit.
Tijuana Flats is a place where burritos...
Fuck your ad. Fuck your ad. Fuck your ad. Skip, bitch. Skip.
Politically just... You don't know what happens in communism. You don't know what happens under these fascist regimes. Once they're done using you for their purposes, they go after you. And they're going to go after everybody who's politically disfavored, and that will change over time. And get out of New York,
It's going to devastate the economy, and it will, and it should. And people should boycott New York as a matter of principle, even though I don't typically support boycotts. But the problem is, this does irreparable harm to the fabric of America. And you think Putin is ever going to look at America and say, you're going to lecture me? You think Kim Jong-un is looking at this and saying, well, Otto Warmbier had a trial, but his only lasted a day. You dragged yours on for 5 weeks. Oh, but we didn't have a jury. It was a politically biased jury pool in a politically biased district in a prosecution that was corrupt to the court, run by political operatives. And that's it. Convenient timing. They're going to run with the headlines. It gets overturned in appeal. We might have an immunity decision that changes all of this. And when it turns out that this is going to help Donald Trump, which it will, because people are seeing through this and people are, I hope, getting outraged by this. The only people rejoicing on this are political hacks. MSNBC, Lawrence Tribe, George Conway, Mark Elias, Michael Cohen. The only people rejoicing in this are political hacks who have financial gain from this and who would sooner pop the ball than share it. They would sooner destroy the system than allow for a free election where people can vote for the candidate of their choice. They're going to run with, do you want to vote with a convicted felon? They're going to do it. It's not going to make a darn difference. But they've done irreparable harm to the fabric of the judiciary. It's about freaking time the Supreme Court might step in and say, enough is enough. You can't go back on certain things. And the damage that this has done to the judiciary, I would argue, is on par with the damage that was done to the medical institutions over the last 4 years. We can't trust what we once thought were pillars, the foundation of a free, democratic, and just society. And I don't know how you come back from that. This is going to help. It's not going to hurt. Don't do anything stupid. Anybody saying do something stupid, take for granted they're a Fed. Anybody doing something stupid, take for granted they're a Fed. That's what they want. This is an act of judicial provocation. It's not going to work, and just be weary of that. That's my analysis. That's it. Am I sweating? I'm sweating like a pig. I got new glasses today. I just hope I don't look too much like a commie with them. They're good. I like these glasses. But that is it. Don't do anything stupid. This is an act of provocation to push people to do stupid things. And the ultimate irony in all this is that they have actually deterred people from even gathering peacefully to protest or to support Trump. Because the last time they did that, January 6, 2021, they turned it into a Fedsurrection. So watch out. Don't do anything stupid. And if you see people doing something stupid, call them up. The same way they called out Ray Epps on January 5th, 2021. Fed, Fed, Fed. That's it. I got to go make a barbecue, cook some dinner, and I think I'm going to have a nice dry martini with some capers. Peace out, peace.
Shout out to Brother Villa. Guys, I can try to share again, but let's see. I can try to share again. It was it was laggy. I can the next channel is boy, how do I get this link? Do I just Ali Beth Stuckey. The next link is Ali Beth Stuckey, and subscribe to her. That's the this is the link I'm going to try to show. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I can again, if it lags, I'm going to have to do it just like if it lags, I'm going to have to do just like I'm doing right fucking now. I can again. All right, so I'll try it, guys. I'll try it, and if it lags, just let me know ASAP, and I'll have to just go back to what I'm doing. All right, let me try it, guys. Let's see. Boy, this is
week, Trump was found guilty of 4 felony counts in a New York City trial. We are breaking down all of that today, why people are celebrating, why people are freaking out. And we are also going to look at the evangelical response. It least the response from white evangelical, and it represents so much trouble within the front definition of justice, and we will explain exactly why on today's episode of Relatable. It's brought to you by our friends at Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com. Use code Allie at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Hey guys, welcome to Relatable. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Okay, I'm not going to go in.
Hey guys, give me a second. I guess I gotta do it the regular way. Which is not the regular way. This sucks, man. Fucking sucks. Can't fucking stand this. All right, guys, but we're gonna do it. However, I gotta do it. Let me remove that. Start the camera and press play. Oh my God! Now an ad comes.
Total Wine and More.
Last week, Trump was found guilty of 34 felony counts in a New York City trial. We are breaking down all of that today, why people are celebrating, why people are freaking out. And we are also going to look at the evangelical response, at least the response from one prominent evangelical, and why it represents so much trouble within the church. This is an affront to God's definition of justice, and we will explain exactly why on today's episode of Relatable. It's brought to you by our friends at Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com. Use code Allie at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Hey guys, welcome to Relatable. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Okay, we have so much to get through today, so I'm not going to go through any announcements or any preamble. We are just going to get right into this Trump verdict, and I do apologize. I'm just a tad bit under the weather, and so if you can tell that I've got a little bit of a cold, that is why. It is because I do. All right, last week, you guys asked me to please break down everything that happened with Trump. I'm going to do my best. This is going to have to be a couple of episodes. We're going to get a legal expert in here to answer your questions. I'll be taking those on Instagram, but I'm going to do the best job that I possibly can to concisely, not my forte, but concisely break down exactly what happened, why this is ridiculous, why the disparate reactions between the right and the left. And then I still want to have time for reacting to some pride things in the second half of this episode. So I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I possibly can. And if there are some details or some perspectives that I did not include in this summary, that's why I'm trying to get through everything that I can in a short amount of time. And as I said, we'll do definitely follow-up episodes on this to get into the minutia. All right, so here's the headline. This is from Blaze Media. Jury finds Trump guilty of 34 felony counts in New York City trial. Now, most of you have been following this. I asked my Instagram followers, have you been following this? Do you know everything that's going on? The majority of you said that, yes, you've been following this closely. You knew exactly what happened last Thursday. But there were a good portion of you who said, you know, you've been vaguely following it. You're not really sure what happened. You kind of know. And then there was a good portion of you who said, no, you haven't been following it at all. You have no idea what is going on. So I'm going to try to catch you up if this is repetitive to some of you who have been following. I apologize, but it's good for all of us to have just a refresher on all of the details that led up to this. On Thursday, May 30th, former President Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree in New York v. Trump. After roughly 11 and a half hours over 2 days, the jury reached its verdict late Thursday afternoon. The prosecution had accused Trump of marking payments
made to his then personal attorney, Michael Cohen. You remember that while Trump was president, they referred to Michael Cohen, or he referred to himself as Trump's fixer, and then he turned on Donald Trump, and he was seen as some kind of brave expert by CNN and MSNBC, the very outlets who had derided him previously as being, just a Trump sycophant. Now they had this strange new respect for him because he had turned on Trump. As legal expenses in an attempt to cover up a $130,000 settlement payment the attorney made to porn actress Stormy Daniels. Remember Stormy Daniels? She is still a part of this story, to keep quiet about an alleged affair with the former president. Cohen paid Daniels personally, but was reimbursed by Trump, who marked this expense as legal expenses. Bragg's office argued, though, that this amounted to falsifying business records for the purpose of covering up the affair to influence the election results. So that is what is being alleged here. That is what Trump is being accused of. If it sounds convoluted, it's because it is. Trump pleaded not guilty to all counts. The charges were filed by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg last year. Alvin Bragg ran, he campaigned in his district attorney race on finding a crime that Trump was guilty of going after Trump, of trying to make sure that Trump was put behind bars. Of course, that is a mockery of our legal system, of the idea of justice. You don't find a man that you want to accuse of being guilty of something. You are looking for actual criminality, not just for one man, but in general. And then you go after the crime. You're not going after a man and then finding a crime. Of course, that is a marker of all socialist revolutions, of all kind of tyrannical regimes, especially in the 20th century. The defense argued, Trump's defense, that monthly $35,000 payments made to Cohen in 2017, totaling $420,000, were for legal services. However, Cohen claimed a portion of the funds were reimbursement for his payment to Daniels. Trump was not allowed to leave the courthouse while the jury was deliberating. He said this on Truth Social: "Very unfair that I am not being allowed to campaign. Crooked Joe Biden witch hunt. Third world country." Last Tuesday morning, Judge Juan Merchan delivered jury instructions, during which he told the panel that they did not need to agree on the exact unlawful means to render a unanimous guilty verdict against Trump. People are saying that the instructions that he gave to the jury were absolutely ridiculous, almost unprecedented, and shows the bias of this particular judge. So here are part of his instructions. You need not be unanimous as to what the unlawful means were. You may consider violations of Federal Employees Compensation Act, that's federal election campaign law, falsification of other business records, violation of tax laws. This is via CBS News. Under New York law, falsification of business records is a crime when the records are altered with an intent to defraud. To be charged as a felony, prosecutors must also show that the offender intended to commit another crime or aid or conceal another crime when falsifying records. In Trump's case, that other crime was a violation of New York election law that makes it illegal for any two or more persons to conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means. But again, what exactly those unlawful means were in this case was up to the jury to decide. So they really didn't have to be unanimous. They just had to say, yeah, there were some unlawful means here, and 4 people could have thought it was one thing and the rest could have thought it was something else. Prosecutors put forth 3 areas that they could consider: a violation of federal campaign finance laws, and then, as I already said, a violation of tax laws, falsification of other business records. Jurors did not need to agree on what the underlying thing was. They just had to conclude, again, that he did so with the intent to defraud, and that included an intent to commit another crime. A legal expert, Jonathan Turley, explained in a post on X, Merchant just delivered the coup de grace instruction He said that there is no need to agree on what occurred. They can disagree on what the crime was among three choices. This means that they could split 4-4-4 and he will still treat them as unanimous. He says, Paul Ingracia, he is a journalist. He says, this may be the broadest definition of a crime in history. Merchant is literally throwing the whole book at the jury. What authority does he have as a state court judge from a mediocre law school to opine on something as nuanced as federal election law? It's so intricate and complex that the FEC has exclusive jurisdiction and ordinarily preempts other courts from all federal election law related issues. Trump had something to say about the jury instructions. He said on Truth Social, the jury instructions given by highly conflicted judge Juan Merchan were unfair, misleading, inaccurate, and unconstitutional. They were also very confusing, just what the judge wanted, because there was no crime. Trump's attorneys are expected to appeal the decision quickly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that process in a few minutes. Prior to the verdict, Will Scharf, an attorney for Trump, told CNN's Jake Tapper that they were prepared to appeal if Trump would be convicted. Trump's sentencing hearing for the New York City criminal conviction is scheduled for July 11th. That's just days before the start of the 2024 Republican National Convention. All right, so there are many responses and reactions from legal experts all across the aisle on this verdict. If it was justified, if it was not justified, you can imagine what a lot of people think about that, how this is going to affect Trump's ability to run for president. So we'll get into that segment of this in just a second. Let me go ahead and pause and tell you about my first sponsor for the day. So like I said, I am kind of under the weather right now, but this is, I think, the first time that I've been sick since December. It's been a long time since I've been sick, and that is because at the end of last year, I switched my daily vitamin to We Heart Nutrition. We Heart Nutrition is the best place for women to get their vitamins. I've been taking their postnatal vitamins since I'm in that postpartum period. It's been such a game changer for me. I've been taking their wholesome iron supplement. I can tell such a big difference. I've taken all kinds of iron supplements because I tend to be more anemic, and I just haven't really found one that really works. But because We Heart Nutrition uses the most bioavailable ingredients, so your body can actually absorb the ingredients in the supplements you're taking, it's been a total game changer for me. So now I rely on We Heart Nutrition to stay healthy and to stay balanced. They've also got the omega-3 supplement that I take on a daily basis. It doesn't have any kind of fishy taste, which I really like. If you are pregnant, trying to get pregnant, if you are postpartum, if you are perimenopausal, if you're menopausal, they have a supplement for you. This is a pro-life Christian company that really just cares about women's health and wants to glorify God in everything they do. So support them. Get your supplements from We Heart Nutrition. Go to weheartnutrition.com. Use code Allie. Take their 20-second quiz. They'll help you get the right supplements for you. You'll get 20% off your order when you use my code weheartnutrition.com, code Allie.
If you've ever voted for my father, I'm asking you to chip in $5 or even $25 to his campaign today. Crooked Joe Biden has an army of liberal billionaires bankrolling his campaign. But if everyone watching this video chips into my dad's campaign, he'll be able to drown them out once and for all. Please support my father's campaign today. I know with your support, he will make America great again.
I did not skip that ad.
Okay, so this is from The Intelligencer, New York Magazine. This is a very left-leaning outlet, and the legal expert that wrote this article is arguing that prosecutors contorted the law in order to convict Trump. That this really was not a legitimate case, that because Alvin Bragg, this politically minded, ideologically driven prosecutor, just wanted to find a way to put Trump behind bars so he could say that he did it because he personally doesn't like Trump, because he knew that this would make him popular among liberals. They had to contort the law in order to make Trump guilty. And of course, when something like this, when a trial like this goes on in very liberal Manhattan, the jury pool is going to be extremely left-wing. And what we know about a lot of left-wing people is that they have an irrational disdain for Donald Trump, that they are actually unable to be impartial. Impartiality is a central tenet of justice. If you are not impartial, if you cannot just look at the facts of the case and decide whether someone is guilty based on the facts, then you cannot be a part of justice. If you are partial and that you have some kind of bias against or bias toward someone in a case, then you are unable to actually bring about a just outcome. Of course, we see this biblically, as we've talked about many times before. This is the difference between justice and social justice. Social justice is only concerned about the outcomes and what it perceives to be good retribution, or trying to make sure that everyone gets even, whereas justice really cares about the procedure. And God says over and over again, and particularly in the Old Testament, in his law giving to Israel, we can see what he thinks about the principles of justice, that one of the qualifications of justice is that it must be impartial. He says you cannot defer to the poor nor to the great, but in truth you judge your neighbor. Of course, the other definitions or the other descriptors of justice, it has to be direct. It also has to be truthful, and the punishment has to be proportional to the crime. We see all of this when we look at the due process that God put in place in the Old Testament, the principles of which should still be applied today. And we did not see that in this case. And even those who are secular, even in this case, in this article that I'm about to read the summary of, from a left-wing perspective, even from that angle, people understand that. People understand that this wasn't actually justice, although some irrational people are still celebrating. So here's what the article argues. This is a CNN senior legal analyst, and she describes how the Trump conviction was a political hit job. And here are the points that she gives. Number one, the judge merchant donated money in plain violation of a rule prohibiting New York judges from making political donations to a pro-Biden, anti-Trump political operation. Now, the donation was small. It was $35, but it was still a violation. And would people have been fine with the judge staying on the case if he had donated a couple bucks to re-elect Donald Trump, MAGA forever campaign? Absolutely not. It wouldn't have mattered if it was 50 cents. People would have said that this person was biased, that he is disqualified. DA Alvin Bragg boasted on the campaign, as we said, on the campaign trail in an overwhelmingly Democrat county. It is a fact that I have sued Trump over 100 times. So this is, he found the man, he's looking for the crime. That is unjust, no matter who it is. Number three, the DA's charges against Trump push the outer boundaries of the law and due process. The charges against Trump are obscure and nearly entirely unprecedented. In fact, no state prosecutor in New York or Wyoming or anywhere has ever charged federal election laws as a direct or predicate state crime against anyone for anything. None, ever. Standing alone, falsification charges would have been mere misdemeanors under New York law, which posed two problems for the DA, Alvin Bragg, who is looking to charge Trump. First, nobody cares about a misdemeanor, and it would be laughable to bring the first ever charge against a former president for a trifling offense. Second, the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor, 2 years, likely expired. So he is looking for a felony charge. The DA inflated misdemeanors past the statute of limitations and electroshocked them back to life by alleging the falsification of business records was committed with intent to commit another crime. So this goes back to the summary at the beginning of what he had to say happened in order for this to be a legitimate case at all. Inexcusably, the DA refused to specify what those unlawful means actually were. The judge declined to force them to pony up until right before closing arguments. So much for the constitutional obligation to provide notice to the defendant of the accusations against him in advance of trial. In these key aspects, the charges against Trump aren't just unusual, they're bespoke, seemingly crafted individually for the former president and nobody else. Again, that is the definition of injustice. The Manhattan DA's employees reportedly have called this the zombie case because of various legal infirmities, including its bizarre charging mechanism, but it's better characterized as the Frankenstein case, cobbled together with ill-fitting parts into an ugly, awkward, but more or less functioning contraption that just might ultimately turn on its creator. Now, the author doesn't go so far as to say that an appeals court will overturn this conviction. New York law is broad, it's hazy enough to potentially allow these mechanisms, but he is going to have a decent shot at reversal, apparently, even in New York. No man is above the law. That's what we kept hearing from the left. That's what we heard from Joe Biden after no man is above the law. No man is above the law. We'll get into why that's so ridiculous more in a second, but the author says it's become cliche, but it's an important point, and it's worth pausing to reflect on the importance of this core principle. But it's also meaningless pablum if we unquestioningly tolerate or celebrate deviations from ordinary process and principle to get there. Here, prosecutors got their man, for now at least, but they also contorted the law in an unprecedented manner in their quest to snare their prey. So obviously, Trump himself and Trump supporters and people who aren't Trump supporters are calling this a witch hunt. They are rightly saying this is so hypocritical that they have unleashed a new era of lawfare that is going to come back to bite Democrats. Should Republicans take power again? Should Trump somehow still manage to win the White House? Now, do Republicans have the gall? Do they have the courage to turn this back around and to use the weapons that have been wielded by the left on their political enemies? I don't know. I don't think they do. And would that solve things for the better in the long run? I'm not sure. Maybe that's just the generation that we're in now, though. Maybe we don't think about what's going to happen in 10 years. Maybe you just have to use the tools that are given to you and use them in the moment. I'm not saying that that is that's the long-term solution. I'm not saying that that's what's going to make a better country, but maybe it is what Democrats want it to be. Maybe it really is just a fight to the death. And maybe that is what it's going to take for everyone to put down their weapons and say, okay, enough with the lawfare, enough with trying to destroy the other side completely. I'm not sure. According to Fox News, Judge Juan Merchant, who presided over the case, said Trump was required to be in court every day for the trial, except Wednesdays when the court was not in session. Of course, that meant that Trump couldn't really campaign. And if you've been feeling like, okay, wait, the election has happened in November, why does it feel like the campaign hasn't really started? Why does it feel like neither side is campaigning? Well, Joe Biden is not really campaigning because he can't talk. And so they're going to employ as much as they can the same strategy that they did in the 2020 election. And they're going to hide him away as much as possible because he's not coherent. He doesn't have really a cogent thought. And so they know that the more they can parade Trump as a convicted felon, the more they can point to him as this bad guy. They don't really have to present Joe Biden as this strong with it hero. They just have to make Trump look bad because they know that people aren't voting for Joe Biden. There are very few people who are voting for Joe Biden, but there's a large contingency of people that are voting against Donald Trump because they believe this nonsense that he is going to bring about tyranny, that he is the threat to democratic norms. You have one side that is celebrating injustice, that is celebrating this kind of banana republic tyrannical effort to try to exact vengeance against their political opponent, and not just vengeance, but try to inhibit him during a campaign season through lawfare. And they are accusing Donald Trump and his supporters of being the threat to democracy. Of course, everything they accuse someone of is actually just a projection. As we've said before, the definition of democracy, according to the left, is authoritarianism that they like. Authoritarianism, according to the left, is democracy that they do not like. They're not giving any real definitions here. It's so important. Whenever we hear anything coming from the left, or really anyone, but particularly the left, because they control the public education, most of the federal government, the intelligence agencies, the UN, the WHO, the WEF. I mean, they have their claws in all of it. It's so important for us to find our terms and to really think thoughtfully about everything that we hear and read when it comes from them. The 2024 presumptive Republican nominee took advantage of the location of the trial in New York City and highlighted that it has been in decline since Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg took office. He also made local campaign stops in New York City, very smart, visiting a Harlem bodega, delivering pizza to first responders at a Midtown Manhattan fire department. He took photos with each firefighter, didn't talk to the press. Good for him. Holding rallies around New York, which drew historic crowds in traditionally blue districts. We didn't cover this at the time, but he held a rally in the Bronx. I think it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, and it looked like it was going to be horrible weather, that there's going to be flooding, that they were going to be unable to actually host this rally, that not a lot of people would come. You had AOC quote tweeting a post about the horrible rainfall that they were going to see that afternoon when the Trump rally was supposed to be held, saying like God is good, so praising God for the terrible weather. It turns out that there were totally clear skies, that it was a beautiful evening, and Trump held this historic rally with thousands and thousands of people there in ardent support of him. Over 25,000 people just ahead of Memorial Day, 25,000 people in the Bronx. They were expecting 3,500 people to show up at this rally. 25,000 people showed up for this Trump rally in the Bronx. Just incredible. I mean, whether you like the guy or not, that is incredible. When he was not in court on Wednesdays, the former president crisscrossed the nation for rallies and campaign stops, will return to New York City for court first thing Thursday morning. The only non-Wednesday Trump spent outside the courtroom was May 17th when he traveled home to Palm Beach, Florida to attend and celebrate the high school graduation of his youngest son, Barron Trump. So good for him. Good for him. We'll get to more of his response in just a second. Let me tell you what our second sponsor for the day is. Adele Natural Cosmetics. I love Adele Natural Cosmetics. Been such a game changer for my skin. Started using them a couple of years ago. I didn't realize that the ingredients in the face wash that I was using was actually counterproductive because it was so harsh, the chemicals in the face wash. I just thought you get the strongest thing possible to get off all your makeup. That's actually not necessary. I love the very...
Should I fast forward to the ad? Fast forward to the ad a little bit. All right.
Immediate.
Introducing Keeps.
Of course, now I got another ad. Come on, man. Well, that was a commercial, or yeah, you get one. Okay.
The verdict. Trump made this statement. This was a disgrace. It was a rigged trial by a convicted judge who was corrupt. He said they wouldn't give us a venue change because his side did ask for a venue change. That's very normal to do. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. Now, a lot of you have asked, how is he going to campaign if he is actually in jail? Now, it's not likely that he is going to go to jail, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible that he will be in jail. How will he campaign from jail? I'm not sure that he will have to campaign if he is in jail. I mean, right after this, he raised so much money just from this conviction, tens of millions of dollars. Even prominent people coming out and saying, I support Donald Trump now. Wasn't going to support Donald Trump, but they're saying, I'm going to support Donald Trump now. And if that's what it takes to stop the weaponization of the justice system in this country against political enemies, which really is representative of tens of millions of people that support Donald Trump or either at least just don't support Joe Biden, then that's what it's going to take. And so I'm not sure that he'll even have to campaign. I saw this meme. I think Elon Musk posted it this morning that I thought was funny. It was like, I don't know what it's from, but it was a picture of what's supposed to be like a liberal and conservative looking at each other and being like, wait, and looking confused. And it was like liberals wearing a t-shirt of Trump's mugshot, conservatives wearing a t-shirt of Trump's mugshot. They're both wearing it, but for very different reasons. The right is wearing the t-shirt with Trump's mugshot to be like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a rat's patootie about what the Democrats say, what you're going to call me. And basically, this is like, sorry, this is crass. I'm not saying this would be a good thing to do, but I don't know how else to describe it. The right is wearing it like a middle finger to the left. Like, look, I'm not scared of you. The left is using it as a middle finger to the right and saying, yay, this is a celebration. We got our man. Really, it's a celebration of the definition of injustice, whether or not you like Trump. Because the question is not whether he ever did something wrong. The question is not whether it was good for him to be doing it with a porn star. The question is not whether it was right and moral of him to be giving hush money through his lawyer to Stormy Daniels. That's not the question at hand here. The question is, were these charges correct? Was the jury correct? Was the jury impartial? Was the judge impartial? Was the conclusion of this trial just and true? And the answer to that is unequivocally no. That's what matters here. We used to be able to suss things like that out. And I'll talk about some historical examples of us being able to be objective as a nation, even when we really disagreed with something or disagreed with the person or disliked the person. We're past that now, unfortunately. On Sunday morning, former President Trump spoke with Fox and Friends in an exclusive interview, and they asked him, what if you go to jail? Here's shot one.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail. He couldn't face what that could be.
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, oh, no, you don't want to do that to the president. I said, you don't beg for anything. You just the way it is.
Yeah, that's his attitude. It's got to be. It's got to be his attitude. You don't beg for anything. It is what it is. And as I said, that is probably going to help him in the campaign. Now, some people are saying that if this is appealed, he faces a lot of difficulty in the appeals court. Some people are pointing out that the court that he would face, the appeals court that he would face, is made up of entirely Black women. That's what people are saying. They posted a picture of the appeals court. The reason that they're saying that makes it unlikely for him to win this case is because Black women tend to be mostly very liberal, very left-wing. This is just statistically true. But however, this is not the entire court. There are 21 judges in this division. 5 are Black. The picture was taken in February when those 5 happened to be ruling together over several appeals cases this spring. It was the first time that happened. And so people saying, okay, this is the appeals court, this is the entire appeals court, this is who Trump is going to be facing when they appeal, or these liberal Black women, that's not true. These are just 5 people who happen to be on the court. And so I don't think that that's really a good point. So if you see that picture or that point floating around, just realize that that's not exactly the whole picture. Now, it may be true that he doesn't have a good chance of winning on appeal. And it might be true that all 21 judges, or the majority of the 21 judges, are so biased because they are left-wing. But the existence of these 5 judges who happen to be Black women doesn't really support that point. According to Newsweek, there's no specific reason to think that these 5 would hear Trump's case if he decides to appeal, given that there are 21 justices on the court in total. On a statistical basis, the odds would be low. Again, could be concerned for other reasons, but I would not say that reason. Now, many people are pointing out, including Donald Trump, as we mentioned, that this is an extremely hypocritical ruling and hypocritical statements that no one is above the law, given how Alvin Bragg treats criminals in New York City. So here's just some history of Alvin Bragg, who claims that no man is above the law. We care about justice. We care about the rule of law here in New York City. Well, of course, no, he doesn't. This is via Heritage. The Heritage Foundation. Bragg sent a memo to all staff in the district attorney's office when he took charge in January 2022, outlining his new policies. The Heritage Foundation summarized the dangerous soft on crime charges or changes below. elimination of pretrial detention / cash bail for the following cases. The elimination of cash bail everywhere that has been implemented has led to destruction, has led to more rampant crime, criminals getting away with things that they should not be getting away with, violent criminals being let out into back into the community, committing more murder, more robberies, more rapes, more assaults. Every single place that the elimination of cash bail has been implemented, that has been the result. New York City, of course, is no exception. Also, so these are the cases in which the elimination of pretrial detention and cash bail was implemented. Robbery, burglary, breaking and entering, carjacking, possession with intent to distribute any drug, witness tampering, domestic violence, arson, bribery, kidnapping, larceny, use of a child in sexual performance. Okay? Criminal possession of a firearm, child endangerment, elder abuse, unlawful surveillance, and more. Prosecutors can only ask for prison where defendants are convicted of the following offenses. Can only ask for prison in these cases: homicide, a Class B felony where the victim suffered serious physical injury from a deadly weapon, domestic violence felonies, sex offenses such as rape and child sex abuse. Now, I'm a little confused about that. Apparently, they can ask for prison. Okay, so they can ask for prison there, but there can't be cash bail and pre-trial detention in that case. Public corruption, rackets, major economic crimes. Bragg has announced crimes that his office will not prosecute: possessing marijuana, refusing to pay for the fare for public transportation, trespassing, failing to pay fines for unlicensed operation of motor vehicle, committing any traffic infraction, resisting arrest, obstructing governmental administration, engaging in prostitution, most other misdemeanor offenses. This makes it very difficult for police officers to catch criminals that are typically also guilty of much worse crimes than that. So he is actually not a fan of justice or a fan of enforcing the law at all. It's only when it comes to Donald Trump. In 2020, this was an article from 2021, but in 2020, according to NBC News, charges were dropped for hundreds of alleged looters in New York City. A review of NYPD data by the investigative team at WNBC shows that a large percentage of the cases, particularly in the Bronx, were dismissed, and that many convictions were for counts like trespassing that carry no jail time. So there were hundreds of arrests. He ended up dropping the charges for people who looted. So that means they were thieves. They committed violence in many of these cases. But he decided, of course, because they were rioting in the name of BLM, that it didn't matter and that they didn't need to see any jail time. According to the Daily Mail, recent data shows that progressive Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg downgraded staggering 60% of felony cases to lesser charges last year amid fury over criminals being repeatedly released to roam the streets of New York. Here's just one example. Joseph Borgen, 31, he was the victim of an anti-Jewish mob assault in Manhattan. He spoke out, slamming the plea deal that allowed one of his attackers off with just 18 months behind bars. His attacker faced 7 years in jail after being filmed beating Borgen with crutches, calling him a dirty Jew, and pepper spraying him in the 2021 attack. He only got 18 months. Bragg was also slammed recently for allowing men accused of brutally beating 2 NYPD cops in Times Square in January to walk free. The suspects in the shocking attack, after being freed without bail, are believed to have swapped immigration numbers with other people at their shelter and used the misappropriated identities to obtain vouchers and free bus tickets under fake names. This is so-called criminal justice. This is so-called racial justice. This is social justice. By saying, oh, look, I have fewer people in prison. I have fewer black people in prison. I have fewer brown people in prison. That means I've obtained social justice. Why? Because social justice is only concerned with the outcomes. It's not actually concerned with the procedure or the process, which, according to the God who created justice, is not justice. And it always leads to chaos, disorder, and disarray. Alvin Bragg his campaign was in part funded by George Soros. George Soros is invested in the destruction of the United States because he does not believe in Western civilization. He doesn't believe in any kind of nationalistic pride. He doesn't believe in a strong U.S. He sees a strong U.S. as an impediment to the new global order in which just a few oligarchs at the top are in charge, and they can reorder fundamentally society in service to his radical climate change agenda, which is just a form of communism. It is a form of mass poverty and mass oppression, where the people at the very top get rich and have the full concentration of power. And so the more he can bring the United States into disarray by ensuring that his people, that his left-wing prosecutors and judges and politicians are placed in charge, the more that he can tear America apart at the seams by making our borders completely irrelevant and porous, the closer he gets to that new global order. So yes, stopping Trump is actually a part of all of that. Elon Musk said, indeed, great damage was done today to the public's faith in the American legal system. If a former president can be criminally convicted over such a trivial matter motivated by politics rather than justice, then anyone is at risk of a similar fate. And of course, we saw this in the disparate outcomes of different criminals in Washington, D.C., for example. The same thing happened there with the looters, with the rioters, with the violent criminals getting to walk free, while grandmothers who peacefully walked through the Capitol on January 6th, they were charged. There are people in prison. There were people in solitary confinement who committed lesser crimes than the criminals who were able to walk free, the violent criminals who have been able to walk free in Washington, D.C. We have seen peaceful pro-life advocates who were praying outside clinics, who were standing outside abortion clinics, see more prison time than some of the most violent offenders in places like New York and D.C. So Elon Musk, he has spoken against this in several different posts on X. Ben Shapiro points out the hypocrisy of all of this, the seriousness of all of this. He says Trump is a threat to democracy. Are you serious? Biden has activated his DOJ to target Trump in 3 separate jurisdictions while avoiding criminal culpability for himself and his son, Hunter Biden. Tried to use OSHA to force 80 million Americans to take the vaccine, defied the Supreme Court by illegally waiving student loan debt. That's something that he bragged about recently. Biden said, I ignored the Supreme Court, who said that forgiving student loan debt, appropriating our tax dollars to pay for the student loans that were voluntarily taken out by those students. He said that he ignored the Supreme Court, that he is going forth with that while simultaneously saying that no one is above the law. He used governmental agencies to threaten social media companies. He attacked states for attempting to enforce border law. The list continues, and that's just the short version. Liz Wheeler.
Oh shit! I'm trying to pause 1 second. Can I see if I can get close? So if you guys wanted to read it real quick as well. I don't know if that'll work, but take a picture of it. There you go. Where am I at? I'm sideways now. Anyway, then press play.
His governmental agencies to threaten social media companies. He attacked states for attempting to enforce border law. The list continues. That's just the short version. Liz Wheeler has a really good list showing the hypocrisy of our justice system in the United States that is weaponized against Republicans, anyone who is not on the left. She said Hillary Clinton deleted.
Oh my God, look at this list. Holy shit. Where's my camera at? Oh, that's the wrong camera. Okay. Oh my God, this is wow, look at this list. Anybody wants to take a few pictures of it? Anyway, I'll press play and let her say it. Wow. Is it? Okay, there you go. I hate this. I can't share out. Fucking computer. Oops.
30,000 emails. Epstein's clients walk free. Mayorkas allowed the invasion of our border. Pelosi's rich from insider trading. Hunter is a crack addict with hookers. Biden sold access to Chinese commies. Stephen D'Antuono staged the Whitmer Fed napping on January 6th. Peter Sork and Lisa Page weaponized the FBI to quote-unquote get Trump. Fauci lied about funding gain of function that created the COVID-19 virus. Cuomo, through his policies, killed 11,000 elderly people in New York. Pfizer and Moderna lied about the safety of the mRNA jabs. Planned Parenthood sold aborted baby body parts. This is all true, and they're all walking free, she says. But Trump is convicted for paying his attorney. He's exactly right. Nancy Pelosi has a tweet that is recirculating. She said this last year. She said the grand jury has acted upon the facts and the law. No one is above the law, and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence. Hopefully the former president will peacefully respect the system which grants him that right. No, we do not have a right to a trial to prove innocence. That is not how our justice system is supposed to work.
Facts. 24-second ad. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. What's up, Lady Liz? Hey, Jay, hit me up, Jay. Let me keep us informed with Dr. Nick, man.
It into a little socket on your car. It connects to your.
It is on the side of the prosecution to prove that the defense is guilty. It's not about guilt versus innocence, by the way. It's guilty versus not guilty, and that is different. Not guilty and innocent are two different things, and it is on the side of the prosecution to try to prove that the defense is guilty. You don't go into a trial to try to prove your innocence. Again, we're talking about Banana Republic, third world country type stuff, where the government comes up with a crime to charge you with, and you have to try to prove that you're not guilty of the crime when it's already been stacked against you. The jury is stacked against you. The judge is stacked against you. That is not justice. That is not a justice system by any real definition of justice. Biden was asked in a press conference about the verdict. The reporter said, President Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Here's SOT 3, Biden's response.
Mr. President, can you tell us your Yes, sir. Do you think the conviction will have an impact on it? We'd love to hear your thoughts, sir.
Should he be on the ballot, sir?
Okay, so he just creepily, if you're just listening to this, he just creepily looks at the camera and smiles. Now, I would say that that's evil if I thought that he had any thoughts in his brain. I would say, wow, that is so wicked. That's so sinister that he's just looking at the camera and smiling creepily with this weird twinkle in his eye at that question. But I actually don't think that he heard them. Like, I don't think that he even processed what was said. I think that that's just kind of what you do when you don't know what's going on. You just smile. And I say this, I'm not saying this in a snarky way. Like, I have been around older people who have dementia, in the early stages of dementia. That look that he gave is very familiar. Like, it is very typical of people whose minds are just fading. You just kind of look out with a blank stare and you smile and you hope that that's the right response. And so I think it's equally dangerous and equally scary that he is so absent mentally that he doesn't have a good response to that. But I actually don't think he is intentionally being sinister there. I think he just has no idea what in the world is going on around him. And I also want to get to the evangelical response about this. That Russell Moore, of course, you guys know who he is. He has been a part of the Southern Baptist Convention for a long time. He was the head of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Committee for a while, and he has been a staunch anti-Trump voice, and he, of course, had something to say about this. I'll get to my response to that in just a second. Let me go ahead and tell you about our third sponsor for the day, and it is Jace Medical. All right, we don't know what's going to happen.
All right, let me fast forward to the commercial here.
Fit or unfit? And the answer was obvious all along. Character matters still. Obviously referring to Donald Trump there. Now, there is no mention of the justice or injustice of not just the verdict, but the process itself. And as someone who I know knows what the Bible has to say about justice, I know that he knows that God says that he hates partiality, that God demands impartiality when it comes to us, when it comes to law giving. I know he knows that. I know he knows scripture. I know that he knows the Bible, likely in many ways better than I do, just when it comes to his sheer knowledge of biblical stories. And yet, he doesn't seem to care, as indicated to me in this tweet, about justice, about what the definition of justice really is. And this is someone who has very little to say about Joe Biden, very little to say anymore about policies that are not only harmful, directly harmful, but are also downright unbiblical. Now, I'm not saying that he has never talked about abortion or that he's never talked about the definition of marriage, but he's been very quiet about these things since Trump has become almost his sole focus when it comes to political discussions. Megan Basham, who is really like the expert when it comes to this segment of evangelicals, she looked through Russell Moore's Twitter history for all of time since Russell Moore has been on Twitter, just to see what he said about Biden. Because I don't mind criticism of Donald Trump. You guys know that. Anyone who calls me some kind of Trump MAGA grifter or some Trump sycophant, someone who won't criticize Donald Trump, you just don't know. You haven't listened, you haven't watched. I get absolutely reamed by Trump supporters sometimes, not all of you, but sometimes when I do criticize Donald Trump or when I disagree with him or when you guys think that I'm being unfair, which is, I never want to be unfair to Donald Trump, but I have my criticisms. So you can't call me some kind of MAGA sycophant cultist. That just ain't me. If that makes you feel better, then sure, that's what you can tell yourself. But that's not me. I've been much more even-handed when it comes to my criticism of Biden and Trump than Russell Moore has, at least according to what we see here on Twitter. She went through every single time Russell Moore has tweeted about Joe Biden. And here are some of the things that he said. I'm not saying I disagree with all of these things, but I'm saying the criticisms just don't exist, at least when it comes to publicly here. And yet he said a lot about Donald Trump on X. So Russell Moore said, Christians, let's pray for President-elect Joe Biden. That was November 7th, 2020. Of course, I agree with that. Let's pray for Joe Biden. He says, politics aside, Vice President Biden is an exemplary father who has seen very hard times. Let's all pray for him tonight. I don't know that I would agree that Biden is an exemplary father. I mean, Ashley Biden, this is verified, by the way. Ashley Biden's diary was released where she notes that she had inappropriate showers with her father late enough in her life where she could remember them and realize that they were not okay. Is that the decency? Is that the decency that you're talking about? Is that the example of being an exemplary father that Biden has shown us, has offered to us? Some of you have asked me, like, why isn't that a bigger story? When I posted about that on Instagram, I had some messages being like, wait, I haven't even heard of this. Is that real? I thought that was just a conspiracy theory. No, even Snopes said that that's real. That, of course, is real. It's not a big story because the media doesn't want it to be a big story. Because when we talk about decency, we just have to talk about all of Trump's impropriety, which is real. But we can't talk about Biden's or Obama's. Like, I have heard conservative Christian evangelicals over the past few years say, yeah, you know, I don't agree with everything that Biden or Obama did, but they're great men. They're great men. And Trump is just not. Are you freaking kidding me? How can you support the unfettered slaughter of unborn children and be a great man? Really? I mean, it's just so delusional. Russell Moore has said, really sorry to hear about the death of Bill Biden. My prayers go to Vice President Biden's family. Again, nothing wrong with saying that. What Joe Biden and Paul Ryan can teach us about fatherhood. Again, that's weird. Say what you will about Joe Biden, he would not be this boring at a hashtag Dem debate. That was 2015. In 2021, he wrote an article for the Gospel Coalition, how we can pray for Joe Biden. He, again, expressed sympathy for Joe Biden in 2015. In 2015, he also said he disagrees with Biden on many things, but he's a kind man who loves his family and his country. He goes on and on about saying positive things about Joe Biden. Once again, I am not saying that it is wrong to pray for Joe Biden or express sympathy for Joe Biden. As Christians, we have to be praying for all of our leaders, right or left. That is something that we are called to do. The point is the lopsidedness. And the point is that it's disproportional. The point is that he is not impartial. The point is that he has either neutral or positive things to say about Joe Biden and almost exclusively negative things, if not entirely exclusively negative things about Donald Trump. That's the problem here, is that if you are not impartial, then you are not representing biblical Christianity. You're not representing biblical justice, and that's a problem. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have the same number of criticisms about both sides, because I'm not a moral relativist. Democrats are worse than Republicans. The left is worse than the right. Now, neither of them are fully godly. Neither of them are perfectly in line with biblical Christianity. I wish that the right were more conservative. I wish that that Republicans were more conservative. I wish they were more in line with biblical principles. Absolutely. I wish they were stronger. I wish they were more courageous about those things, 1000%. But when you're talking about which side prefers baby murder more, which side is trying to chop up the bodies of children either through abortion or through gender quote-unquote transition, when you're talking about which side supports wholeheartedly and ardently, more passionately, degeneracy, sexual degeneracy, the absolute obliteration of the family, and the obliteration of national sovereignty, then of course it's Democrats. And it's not even close. Like, we don't have to pretend that both sides are equally bad or that both sides are equally good. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what it means to be impartial. Actually, we should look at every issue, and we should care about every issue and try to approach every issue from a biblical perspective. Of course, that's what we should do. I'm not saying that we should have even criticism of both sides, but we should be truthful, right? We should look at each person and look at each issue as they come and try to see all of it from a biblical perspective as best as we can. And that means, yes, we are going to have criticisms of all politicians and all sides. Yes, that's true. But that's not true of Russell Moore. He clearly leans left. He does. He clearly leans left, and he thinks that the right and Donald Trump is more of a threat than the absolute degenerate baby murdering side of the aisle. That's just where he stands on it. Okay? So we're going to be seeing a lot of that, by the way, in the coming months when it comes to evangelicals. You're going to see a lot of evangelicals, as they have for the past several years, say, oh yeah, abortion is kind of bad. Yeah, gender ideology wreaking havoc on our kids, that's kind of bad. Yeah, the redefinition of marriage, sure, I guess that's kind of bad, but they'll see that as a lost battle. But Trump is the real threat. He's the real threat to democracy. He's the real threat to freedom. He's the real threat to morality. He's the real threat to the church. It's absolutely delusional. It's just delusional. It is. You don't have to like the guy. I don't care. I really don't care if you like him. I don't care if you agree with him. I don't care if you support him. I don't even care if you vote for him. I really don't. But to see him as some kind of unique threat in all these different areas, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. It's not factually true. It's not morally true. Now, on the other side of it, we've got people who are comparing Donald Trump's conviction to Jesus Christ, y'all. Okay, so as always, I've got some criticism for people on the right who I think right now are being kind of equally delusional. saying that Donald Trump is like Jesus, and that Jesus was also convicted of a crime that he was not guilty of. Now, whoa. Trump is guilty of something here, at least morally. Like, we are talking about the fact that he paid a prostitute hush money, and we don't know if it was in service to winning the election, but we know that that was something that he did. So we know that there is immorality here, right? Like, we know that there is imperfection. We know that there are sins here. Doesn't mean that he should have been convicted. Doesn't mean that he should go to jail, not under these laws and charges. But Jesus was perfect. Okay, he literally did not commit any crimes. He did not commit any sin. He went to the cross to bear our sins. There is no comparison here. Right? Why? Why do we do this? Why can't we just say that it was wrong for him to be convicted in this way? Why can't we just say that? Why do we have to compare him to Jesus? Here's the meme that's going around. If you're not sure that you can vote for a convicted criminal, remember, you worship one. Blah! Hate that. I hate it so much. It is a picture of Donald Trump's mugshot and Jesus Christ hanging on the cross. I think that is so blasphemous and so sacrilegious. You don't have to compare Trump to Jesus Christ to say that this was wrong. It's just not necessary, nor is it true. Also, Jesus wasn't a convicted felon. Pilate literally said, he's not guilty. I'm washing my hands of this. He just gave the mob what it wanted. Now, like, you can compare the injustice of like mob justice and the partiality that played out in Jesus's story to the kind of mob mentality and mob so-called justice that the left likes. We've seen that in a lot of different ways. You can make that comparison, absolutely, without saying that Trump is similar to Jesus in any way. Oh my goodness. It's just not necessary to make that comparison. Let's not be Looney Tunes. Like, is it possible that we just allow the left to be the crazy ones? I don't know. Can we just allow them to embarrass themselves? Can we just allow them to be the unhinged ones? We do not also have to be unhinged. We do not. You can just like sit back. That is one tactic. If you're in a debate with someone, when they start backtracking and when they start saying things that are just insane, when they start trying to like make weird connections that don't go together, you don't interrupt. You don't stop them. You never stop your opponent when they're making a mistake. You just sit back and let it happen. That is, by the way, what Biden is trying to do with Trump during this campaign. So this is where we are. It's not a good place as a country. It has helped Trump, as I said, in his campaign. People have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars, amounting to tens of millions of dollars in donations. Unfortunately, we've got many entities that are supposed to be neutral celebrating this. Encyclopedia Britannica said, yes, we've already updated his bio. This post on X went viral. Of course, it's tongue-in-cheek, saying, yay, he's a convicted felon. I mean, this is very 1984. The purveyors of our information, in some ways the arbiters of truth, are incredibly biased against former president. Tucker Carlson said this: import the third world, become the third world. That's what we just saw. This won't stop Trump. He'll win the election if he's not killed first. But it does mark the end of the fairest justice system in the world. Anyone who defends this verdict is a danger to you and your family. Wow.
It's time for me to get set up for therapy, and I use this room as my office, but the desk is over here.
Oh, shut up.
And so when I'm seated at the desk,
anyone who defends this verdict is a danger to you and your family. I think that he's got a point there, actually. I really do. Because they support finding a man or getting the man and finding a crime that he is guilty of, no matter how they have to contort the law. And if they'll do that to President Trump, they'll do that for you too. That is part of what happened in 1984. That's even part of Brave New World. In any kind of dystopian novel, you see this kind of snitching. Even children on their parents, you see in 1984. If they weren't respecting the laws of Big Brother, respecting the order of Big Brother, even if they committed a thought crime, then their children, their family members, their friends would tell on them. They got points for doing that. And it will be like this today. The more applauded you are for trying to find crimes that someone is guilty of, that the regime says are crimes, the more likely this will be. And so fair people, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, will see that this is wrong, see that this is leading to a bad place. What will happen if Trump takes office, by the way, and decides he wants to exact vengeance? I don't really want that, because there are bigger fish to fry. Like, there are more things that need to be done. I don't know if I'll say bigger fish to fry, but there are other things that need to be done that I would love a Republican president to focus on. And yet, this is now the main thing, the weaponization of the justice system against tens of millions of people. That's a really big thing that Trump is going to have to tackle. Democrats are not going to like the results. They are trying to create a fascist regime, which is really ugly, something that I certainly don't want. And I don't know if they realize that that's what they're creating, or they're trying to create, but it's going to be really ugly. It's really ugly, and Democrats have no one but themselves to blame for that. All right, I'm going to read you our last sponsor for the day, and that is Good Ranchers. All right, Good Ranchers just launched their new King.
Zip through that a little bit. And again, shout out to Allie. She rocked it.
And we hadn't really talked about it, and we still didn't get into everything that we could have when it comes to this. And so I hope, even if you've been following this for a long time, that it offered some clarity for you. We'll get into the Miss Rachel stuff tomorrow. That's something I wanted to talk about, and some of the other pride things. We'll talk about all of that tomorrow and my response to a few things there. But I just had to make sure that we covered all of this. And again, we'll get back into it and answer some more questions that you've got about it. But share this with any friends that are confused about what's going on. I hope that it's helpful to them. Also, just a couple things. Tomorrow, we've got some Father's Day merch coming out just for our Related Bros. We've got some hats.
All right. Thank you guys for chilling with me. Where am I at? And sorry I had to do it that way. Shitty ass old slow computer not wanting to share today. Sometimes it'll share, sometimes it don't want to share, and it was lagging up, so kind of had to do it the old-fashioned way. And we pretty much seen about how, especially Viva's video that I put on before this, really just showing how fucked up this is. And she had a lot of great stuff there as well. Viva's video that I... And these Joe Biden people, it's just like, are they just that lost? Are they that just one-sided? Put them on a prayer list, I guess, right? And hope they'll get it right. Wake up. Hey, Brett. Yeah, I'm about to Yo, Z. Thank you for putting in Viva's link. Yeah. I need to do a Dollar Vigilante stream too. It's been a while. Hi, Gloria. You want to do me another favor? Put in the CNS link. Because I'll do a lot of my Dollar Vigilante on the CNS channel, and then I delete after. Technically, I could do that here as well, I guess. But I just do it on the CNS channel. It's like Trump versus Biden. It's like we didn't have all the crazy wars. The gas line wasn't shut down. We didn't have the open borders. We didn't have these outrageous food prices. We didn't have barges slamming into bridges. And trust me, there was more than one. There was a lot more than just that Brooklyn Bridge that got slammed into. We didn't have all the trains getting derailed. We didn't have all these random airplanes flying into our food factories. We didn't have the whole Ukraine-Russia deal. Yeah, if you guys could hit me up on the CNS channel real quick, make sure you got me subscribed over there and hit the bell. Like I said, I do a lot of Dollar Vigilante over there. Shout out to Jeff Berwick. And appreciate y'all being over here. And I think I'm just going to call it a night. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, watching those two videos. And hit me up on the Cowboys Mosh. Thank you. Will I do jam night tonight? Possibly. Yeah, rest in peace to Larry Allen. Dallas Cowboys great. Yeah, Larry Allen was a legend indeed, one of the best of all time. Thank you guys. Yeah, I do look tired, right? We'll catch you guys next time. Deuces, peace, and cheers, and let's go freedom. And I'll talk to you guys next time. I'm going to zip it. Z time. I'm tired. Thank you guys. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And appreciate y'all.